We are faced with a challenge by virtue of the fact that crisis management and resolution measures were utilized to facilitate the assumption of office by President Barrow. You are here as media practitioners, and we cannot just simply abandon you. That is why every day we must tell you how far we have gone, so that you'll be able to know exactly what to report. Jammeh left on Saturday, and today is the first working day. And what we had to do is to prepare the ground for the assumption of power to have meaning. And that is to be able to deliver services to the Gambian people. The current Secretary General was mandated to call all the permanent secretaries in order to tell them to prepare their dossier. The strategic plans which are currently available, the policies, the plans, the projects, their budget line, and continue to do their work and guide the departments to continue to function normally in preparation for the new ministers who will be presiding over the affairs of those ministries. The personnel management of his permanent secretary and the Inspector General of Police were mandated to visit the ministries and the public corporations in order to find out their current situation. And as I appeared, of course, the time was already fixed for this press conference. I must say they have done work that is appreciable, because we know the current situation. The only place that is left is the GCCA, so that we will be able to complete the force assessment of the state of things after the handover of power. There had been information to the public about the central bank. It was of particular concern, but the Inspector General of Police told me that everything is intact. He has spoken to the governor, and they really have no problem, because they are working and the banks are working in the country. We've also been informed of some bit of administrative contradictions in terms of instructions given to certain ECOWAS heads, and we are now resolving those issues by informing the President to communicate to the ECOWAS authorities, so that the mission that is here will have no contradiction in terms of the service delivery, such as the ports and the airport. We've been informed that cooperation is now being effected, so that there will be direct communication to those who have been given a responsibility prior to the settlement of the problem in peace. I believe all of you must realize that war was in the cards as negotiation proceeded. and war meant directives being given to people in charge of certain units, whether it's Navy or the ground forces, so that they abide by certain directives, and attempts are being made now to harmonize all those directives. So in that domain, we must say that services are beginning to operate according to normal. We are assessing the difficulties they are experiencing because of the short break off of administration in the country. Only one institution has actually indicated some difficulties, which is NARIC, in terms of petrol provision, and measures are being taken to ensure that what they are demanding to facilitate the process will be addressed. So I must say that we anticipate that by tomorrow we will have full functioning service delivery system, which will be utilized as a base for the government to begin to plan ahead. The second issue that has been of primary concern is the movement of the ECOWAS forces in the Gambia. That matter has also somehow been resolved, in that understanding has been reached as to what their mandate is, and discussions have taken place so that the president will have the sole authority to determine what happens, and the president has selected an aide who has been in charge of the armed forces of the Gambia and fully understands the armed forces, who on the ground would be able to coordinate more effectively and efficiently with the ECOWAS forces, so that any contradiction will be minimized and there will be people on the ground to address it without any difficulty. So we believe that that will be the ultimate solution of the problem. And what is being planned is the ECOWAS forces who are here to integrate in the military camps that are available, fraternize with the other soldiers, to see that the issue is not another country coming and invading and dominating or occupying Gambia, but ECOWAS forces showing solidarity to a particular country, which will be reciprocated when another country in the sub-region experiences the same difficulty. So in a sense, integration is moving to the level of collective sovereignty. That is, each country defending the republic and defending the rights, sovereignty of the people, and where it is threatened, they collectively come together to defend that sovereignty, so that we continue to consolidate democracy in our sub-region. That is going to be the emphasis, is going to be the vision, and is going to be the mission statement of the ECOWAS forces in the Gambia. That they must be forces of solidarity rather than the forces of occupation. And that solidarity will come by harmonization of the forces, so that collectively their command structures will understand any mandate that should be fulfilled and will be fulfilled collectively. The third dimension is the issue of the cabinet. I'm sure before the end of the day, it will be announced over GRTS that Madam Fatoumata Tambajang has been appointed as the Vice President of the Gambia. And that is done with the objective of balancing the gender of the country. Gender consideration has been given in terms of balance in the constitution of the cabinet. So essentially with that appointment, consultation is taking place. Because it was a coalition, some of the appointments will be political appointments, with parties proposing who they would want to be considered. But essentially, you cannot run a government basically on political appointments, because competence will be sacrificed. So consultation will also be part and parcel of government, so that the mixture will balance the cabinet and ensure that there will be more efficient and effective service delivery. The third aspect is the main aspect that I'm sure is keeping all of you here in the Gambia up to this time, and that is the return of President Barrow. Consideration basically is where he's going to reside and where he's going to carry out his duties. Because of the situation of the State House, work is being done, reliable security apparatus is being created, and that aspect seems to have already been consolidated. So one must look at the State House and see what to do to, as I said yesterday, using the wrong word, that is to sanitize the institution. No one knows what is there, and consequently, it is important for us to bear in mind that he is yet to tell me the time he is coming, but that I know that everybody is anxious that he comes. But I'm sure that by tomorrow we should be able to come closer to the definitive answer. And indeed, everybody recognizes that we do not need any vacuum in managing the affairs of the country. Now, the other questions that we have already addressed and are still addressing are the questions of the detainees and the returnees. It has been announced that anybody whose relative friend is actually still in detention should make sure that they come back to us with their reports, go to the Inspector General of Police to indicate the report, contact the current Secretary General to indicate their report, so that we could address that with speed, because President Barrow is uncompromising on that. There shall be no detainee without trial in the Gambia under his administration. The CDS, the Inspector General of Police, DG NIA have all been informed of that commitment, and all did indicate that by tomorrow no one will be under a detention without trial. We know that some people have been detained in prisons. The Permanent Secretary Minister of Interior and the Solicitor General will be combined, and they, with the Inspector General of Police, will be given the authority to actually visit the prisons, and anybody who is detained there without trial will be released, if they are not already released. So in short, in terms of protection of human rights, the work has already started, and it will be unabated, so that it will be prevented in the future. The other dimension is the dimension of the returnees. There has been a collaboration between the government, the Security Council, meaning the combined immigration, police, armed forces, and other forces, the other squads, NIA and all the forces, have actually combined with the Red Cross and a contingent of the coalition of the government, representing the government of President Barrow, had worked very hard to cover all the Senegambian routes where people could exit. They have covered Siliti, the West Coast. They've moved into the North Bank, covered the Amdullah area, Keraib, and command had been given to those in Wellingaran, Senoba. They've also covered Senoba, coming to the Soma area, and command has been given to those up country in Wellingaran area, so that the returnees will be provided with transports and the facilities needed to integrate them back to the communities from which they flee. We must say that the Gambian community had also risen up to the occasion, where private companies who decided to give support and whose names will be provided by the committee later in announcements over the air, had all collaborated to provide transports and other abilities to ensure that the returnees come back and settle down to the best of our ability without much difficulty. But we will continue to find out more about them since their names are recorded. Follow-up will be done so that concretely one will know any additional problem they may have in their settlement issues process. It is important also to emphasize that solidarity is not only being built on the basis of the military front, but solidarity is also being built on the basis of the Gambian and Senegalese people. The information we receive from the returnees is that many of them who were accommodated in the homes of ordinary Senegalese citizens, provided with all the necessities without any demand. And they live in Senegal with their hearts really left there, because they felt they became a part and parcel of the communities which received them. That is the solidarity that we anticipate will continue to build greater integration, not only Senegal, Gambia, but the whole region, the whole continent. But Senegal, Gambia could be a sample that we, by now, must be very alert and distrust any comments that gives the impression of domination, but understand that the peace we have is a peace the Gambian people fought for, and our neighbors merely gave solidarity. Because if the Gambian people did not rise up to the occasion to go and put a government in office based on their consent, this day would have never emerged. If the Gambian people did not listen to the coalition and earmark 19 January, focus on it, remain still and tranquil until that day comes, this day would not have ever arisen. If the Gambian people, when the incumbent at that time became intransigent, decided to go in the street and confronted them, rather than what they actually did, went to their homes, school closed down, working place closed down, well, the whole country shut down to a point that it became ungovernable. You can make a country ungovernable by being in the streets. You can also make a country ungovernable by being at home and make that government to be irrational, unfit to govern. That is the history the Gambian people have made. And that is what made ECOWAS to have the possibility of giving solidarity to the country. And they were at the borders waiting not only for hours but for days, because the Gambian people wanted transformation in peace, not transformation in a state of war. So we can say that the solidarity of the neighbors in showing that no bully will exist in our country, and the resilience of our people, that change has been made and no one will steal their change from us. That is what has brought the current situation. So President Barrow is preparing to come tomorrow. We are likely to see more initiatives since the Vice President will commence work, and I'm sure that you will get more news about this transition imposed on him, and soon we believe that transition will come to an end, and effectively he'll be in the country, and effectively we will have celebrations at the Independence Stadium as planned before, and people will begin the new phase of a new Gambia determined by the will of the people. And a Gambia whose government must now be transparent and accountable, and never again impose its will by coercion, but rather use those instruments that used to be instrument of coercion to become instrument of protection of our rights and liberties. Thank you very much.
We now invite questions from members of the press. I'll suggest we use our mics and we raise our hands. Thank you.
Hello, sir. Alistair Leith from BBC News. Just to go with what you said there, presumably honesty and accuracy are key points that you're going to require as a new administration. Are you saying that this report about missing millions is not true?
Well, you can push me to a debate, but what I have done is to give you accurate information based on my mandate. I have said to the international press that the government must work on the basis of its institutions and its institutional processes. Allegation of theft, etc., cannot just be made by any member of an executive. It is not the domain of the executive. Allegation of anything that is a crime must be passed on to the Inspector General of Police, and they are the competent authority that should conduct investigation of anything reported to them, and eventually prefer charges against the accused, who must also be presumed to be innocent until the trial takes place before we actually find them guilty of a crime. We are saying that this new government intends to be a civilized and democratic government which will abide by its instruments and institutions in order to fight any injustice. So I have told you, without any ambiguity, that the Inspector General of Police was asked to go to all public enterprises, all public institutions, to examine their current state. Well, what I'm reporting to you is that as far as the Central Bank of the Gambia is concerned, those who are in charge of it have stated with clarity that not only the central bank is normal and functioning normally, but that all the banks in the country are functioning normally. But if other people have any allegation of whatever has been done, I will advise them to hand it over to the Inspector General of Police for investigations.
So Mr. Bate was talking nonsense, was he?
Yes, sir.
Well, you can debate with him. For me, I'm giving you the facts.
So far, do we know how many detainees are released? And do we have any idea how many are still left in the prisons? Thank you.
Well, this is the work that we are currently doing. As far as the Director General NI is concerned, he has informed me that no single person is in custody at the NI. So if anybody holds a contrary view, I'll make sure that you see me and inform me, or in fact inform the Inspector General of Police, and I'm sure we should be able to act with speed to ensure that justice is done as quickly as possible. But in other detention centers, I've told you that in the prisons, obviously they cannot act on their own. That is why the Permanent Secretary Minister of Interior is actually being contacted to do some of the groundwork that is necessary for those people, with the Solicitor General, for those people to be released prior to the assumption of office by the Ministers of Interior and Justice.
Please, a follow-up, please. I mean, in terms of numbers, do we know how much is released from the prison, from the NIA through your IGP, please?
Well, this was simply a unilateral action of declaring rather than a head count. But this is something that may have to be done, and I'm sure with this thinking that you have, those are things that we can look into by the people who are released themselves, or those who had people detained there, starting the process. And there are institutions now, the Red Cross, all this is now an open society. I think the NGOs can go, human rights NGOs can go into certain details in terms of documentation. But I agree with you that it is a very important thing. What we had to do initially is just to make sure that the cells are empty and people are free.
Okay, please.
Baba Amar from Al Jazeera. My question is that we know that ECOWAS entered yesterday the city of Banjul, and it has been almost 1 day since Yahya Jammeh left. Are you afraid that there might be some military or some weapons that went to the wrong hands? What's the situation of that?
Well, I believe this is what they are trying to prevent. That is why there is some element of cooperation between ECOWAS and the armed forces. What we prevented here is disintegration of the security apparatus. Since we have succeeded in that not happening, what is important now is to ensure that those in the security also do not have any fears of any form of victimization for having been part and parcel of a security apparatus that actually made the past government to function. You see, the unfortunate thing with the Gambia, it has never changed to development. So we are yet to be able to refine and reform institutions as we go, so that transfer of executive power will have no impact on the civil service, the military, the police, etc. So this is a very delicate situation for us that all the societies have overcome because of change of government from one party to the other. This is the first time this is happening here. So it requires much caution, and we are calling on the President and everybody involved in decision making to exercise that caution so that we do not have the type of problem that you are actually talking about. But it's a problem that comes when people in the military feel insecure and they end up selling their weapons in order to gain survival or gain exit, go somewhere else. So I believe that if we ensure that every Gambian, irrespective of their past, will still have a place in the present, I believe we'll be able to avoid such an eventuality.
Okay, sir. Yesterday we were told the cabinet will be announced today, but so far what we know is the appointment of the vice president. How soon are we expecting the announcement of the composition of the full cabinet? Thank you.
Well, I have told you, and I think I am not necessarily going back on my words. It seems like it is being fulfilled. The vice president is actually selected. I am sure too that the President Barrow does have in mind all the political appointees. They already know who they are. What is important is balancing it with technocrats so that the cabinet will earn the clout that the Gambian people actually expect. I believe that this is what is holding out the naming of quite a number of people who already themselves know that they were part of a shadow cabinet.
Mr. Sala, this...
Please go. Okay, just one other technical question. You said that Mr. Barrow you'll know more tomorrow about when he's coming, but then you also said he's preparing to come tomorrow. Is he coming tomorrow?
Yes, well, good question. You just want to time me down. Really, the first was really the statement. If I said the second, maybe I have not said it correctly. What I've really said is that real measures are being taken for him to come. But we know the unconventional circumstances, and I believe that real honest effort is being made for him to come. That's why you cannot concretely say it is a matter of hours, but it wouldn't be long. That's the most I can say.
And just one other question, will you disband the NIA?
Well, again, I think what I've said is very clear, that when you are about to create a government fundamentally different from the past, you must work on the basis of real good practice. And best practice is that you take over government, you take over the institutions, you look at the institutions, get competent people to look at the institutions, make a recommendation. You may set up commissions, you may set up different machinery that looks at institutions and know their weaknesses, their strength, and exactly what you need to do to make them perform better. That is the route that President Barrow is being advised to take, not the route of emotions and simply hasty decisions. That leads to witch hunting, insecurity, and at the end of the day, you land where you have left. Because if you say people did the wrong thing in the past, and you start to also do the wrong things to punish them, well, obviously you are simply helping the past to live in the present, and you are not building any future. We hope that we'll build a better future, and it will be advised for us to work in building the institutions in order to have a better future.
Mr. Sala, I just would like you to set some light on an interview that the CDS gave recently. He said that he is in charge of the country currently, because Adam Barrow is currently not in the country, but that he added and said that he is being kept in the dark, that he is not aware of what is going on, or he is not aware of the economic and their objectives here in the country. What is your take on this?
Name, please, an organization.
Well, you have spoken for the CDS, and I don't know whether you are the CDS. So really, I don't think it will be fair for you to speak for the CDS.
I was...
You are a journalist. I'm sure you don't expect me to take hearsay as fact. You know, so in reality, what you've heard and what I heard from a CDS who went beyond his script, which we will eventually guide him not to be doing, even though he has freedom of expression, we will be able to assist him to really understand the new dispensation, and that there are gaps and fences to comments when you run institutions. So we believe that you can leave that as a slip of the tongue, and let's take it as that. I'm sure today you will see me on national TV clarifying all the issues, and clearly at this very moment I'm the spokesperson of President Barrow, and you can take my word, because everything I say I engage in consultation with him, and even things that seems to be advisory in capacity, he's in the know. I have that mandate to say. So currently, it is correct that initially the ECOWAS forces, the coordination that was necessary to make everybody to be aware of their mandate and presence was limited. So immediately that was noted and addressed. And I've said very clearly that we have gone beyond that to the point where consultation now is being done directly. There are some, as I said, the airport and the ports, and now the mechanisms are being created so that quick, speedy consultation could be done to solve problems. And as I said, now their mandate is also very clear that they are supposed to be a force of solidarity and not force of occupation. So you, the journalists now, can look at their practice. If you see any practice that's different, well, expose it. I will help you. If you want us to take banners to President Barrow and say, we want no force of occupation in the country, I will join you. So essentially, we have a new country and we will not have a force of occupation in this land, but we must also be happy that our neighbors, presidents left their countries, and days and months since he declared that he annulled the elections, they are working on the business of the Gambia. And we must appreciate that. And we must translate that solidarity in showing them a method of government that will show them that we deserve that solidarity. And therefore, every Gambian now must abide by the principle of one Gambia, one nation, one people. You hear some here and there, Jola speaking, and Mandinka speaking, attacking each other, believing that Gambia's government was a Jola government, Jawara's government was a Mandinka government. You see, this is the mentality that should change. That the person that goes to the State House has no other authority but to be the executive of the country, mandated to appoint ministers, mandated to raise revenue, mandated to provide services. So the money that is in those coffers is not a Jola money, a Mandinka money, Sarakule money, Wolof money, ethnic money. It is the money of the Gambian people. If you build hospitals, schools, etc., it does not belong to any ethnic group. So it's that falsification of that executive power and the personalization of executive power that we must now eradicate and help the Gambian people that collectively all of us have expectation of executive power to deliver liberty and prosperity. Full stop. If you fail to deliver it, you have made all of us to suffer and we combine to remove it. If you have delivered it, you have not done it for a given tribe, you have done it for the Gambian nation. So we must build up a sense of Gambianness. That is not narrow nationalistic art. I'm talking about. We don't want Hitlers in this country. But a sense of Gambianness that creates a sense of national unity so that we become a community of sovereign citizens, equal in sovereignty, and having the right pluralism, elect any government of our choice, but not allow any government to transform us into sheep and goats so that they think they own us, brand us, so that we fight each other and die for them. That has come to an end, never to come back to life again.
Mr. Salah, what is the state of the no-fly zone that Madam Baji GRTS radio? What is the state of the no-fly zone that has been put in place, supposedly to stop jamming from transporting luxury belongings out of the country? And we understand the National Assembly is supposed to meet today to reverse the state of emergency that has been imposed by former President Jammeh. And what stage are they right now? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I said that yesterday, you were not here, in the press conference that I held, that consultation had already taken place between the Secretary General, Current Secretary General, and the National Assembly. And they had agreed to already draft the resolution. I know that resolution has already been drafted, and I'm sure they will consider it tomorrow. And it will be in your news headlines that the state of emergency is null and void. That is the type of cooperation we expect from all institutions. The issue of a flight zone, I've mentioned it here, that we have problem of the airport and the ports. It is only President Barrow who has power, executive power, to be able to give certain orders to happen. But there is an element that we now have to address, that is certain developments taking place, which he now must take absolute control of. So I'm not sure that anybody had made any order for an airport or seaport to be closed so that some this or that, whatever is said about anybody, to happen. What we know at this stage is that I've called President Barrow to indicate that the Inspector General of Police, going around with his team, had gone to the seaport. There are some difficulties there. Had gone to the airport. There are difficulties there. That has been conveyed to ECOWAS. They have put their own schemes in action. And I'm sure if I leave here, probably before I even leave the Kairaba Beach, I will receive a call to tell me that maybe the problem has been resolved. That is what is on the ground at the moment, and we believe that many problems exist because there is still that unconventional way of the president being sworn in, keeping him at bay, and unconventional way of managing the situation until we have it right.
Obliged on the Australian President. President Barrow is here to name his full cabinet, and many Gambians are still wondering why it is taking time for the new government to be fully named. Does this has to do with the political quota that you have to work on?
Well, as I have said, the unconventional way of swearing in did have an impact because the shadow cabinet was being formed. That comes through consultation. But then all of a sudden, the certainty that Gambia will not go to war led to a situation where everything began to be focused on asserting his legitimacy by force. So I believe that you can see the distance between the coalition and President Barrow, who was there with the ECOWAS heads of state, trying to manage a situation. And immediately after he was sworn in, then we started the process of normalization. And I believe you know that the former president left on Saturday. Today is the first working day. And I've told you the schedule we have already done to stabilize the situation. And I'm sure tomorrow we'll move with greater speed to really move towards actualization of what is definitely the demand of the people and the demand of the Constitution, that is to have the cabinet working. Now, in terms of the political consideration, I believe that has been resolved. Some were interested in cabinet posts, some were not interested in cabinet posts, and I believe that fairly he tried to balance. And in terms of the political appointments, well, I believe maybe that will not pose much of a problem. The shadow cabinet, people who were to be appointed, have a sense that they will be appointed to a particular post. What has not have actually actualized is balancing political appointments with technocratic appointments. And I believe that that is really what is really the problem now. Because if you just announce political appointments, people start talking. Before you come with the other appointments, different people will start, you know. So I think that is the complex thing, that it is better to announce the whole cabinet after thoroughly scrutinizing technocrats who will be part of that administration, so that at the end of the day, there will be a balance between political appointments and technocratic appointments.
Can I just follow up on that? Can a political appointment be also a technocrat appointment?
Obviously, the people are competent, but as you know, this was a coalition. At the end of the day, if somebody is Secretary General of a party, you say the party should have one seat in the parliament, in the cabinet, and the person who may not be a technocrat appoints. So these are the situations, or has never been in government or experience. So in essence, that you don't dictate, because you just allow the party to put certain person in a particular position. So what I'm saying, yes, you may end up also having party candidates to the cabinet who are also competent in terms of their capacity.
But what I'm saying is, can't the coalition members be encouraged to seek people who are fit enough to become ministers? Because we don't want political appointees who, at the end of the day, may not be able to react to the situation.
Yes, but we should not presume. Maybe that's what has happened. I'm simply saying, maybe they have already appointed people who are competent. I'm just simply trying to explain a scenario that you have political appointments for a fact because it was a coalition, but you will also have people by virtue of their professional capacity who are going to be appointed regardless of their party affiliations in the past or non-participation in politics. That's all I'm trying to assert. But then when the appointments come, you can check for yourself which appointment is really purely political and which has taken consideration the issue of competence. I think the journalists will have real time to do your gauging, and now we say it's an open society. You can invite the ministers to press conferences, you can follow them up. I think if we do so with maturity, without witch hunting, we'll end up having at least a better system.
Sorry, will the government be able to tell those ministers they have to? Because the minister cannot just say, I will not speak to the press because he doesn't want to.
Well, what recommendation? I think you've seen the manifesto. It's even talking about Freedom of Information Act. So those are the things that I believe journalists should pursue, hold conventions on, help in the drafting, help in the validation of new legislation that opens up, that promotes accountability and transparency. This is the starting point. Before a president closes, the institutions are all there so that it guides the government to move forward. We must see that the experience now is that government is not about those few who are the decision makers. We must now make that the government is meant for the people, so the people must participate in ensuring that it is accountable and transparent.
Mr. Abdallah, I have a question.
About detention, those in detention without trial. But you didn't talk about disappearance without trace, like the 2 American citizens and then Chief Ibrahim Mane. These are people who are missing, they are not seen. Do you have any information about that? And the third question would be, would you accept, to be part of the cabinet if you are appointed?
You have become very personal. Yes, I'm here to speak for President Barrow, not myself. So essentially, your first question, we spoke about detention without trial because we can do something about it immediately. Now, but you have to have a new Minister of Justice and Attorney General to begin to look into any other allegations that people may have, and then the working out of the instrument. These are legislation. What instrument, or maybe a decision of the president to also establish in a certain commission. So this requires more work. And we don't know even where those people, we just don't hear, we don't know where they are. Maybe they are there. So we're just simply saying that all institutions that had in the past been detaining people should release all detainees under their custody. So this is when we can do the head count. And I believe that it is becoming very urgent for those people, as you said, who had also disappeared. We had always said that disappearance without trace, but now is the opportunity to be concrete, because if they do not emerge in any of the detention centers, then obviously those people, as we used to say, have disappeared without trace. And then their relatives, their families, and their friends will begin the process of demanding from government something that needs to be done. And of course, then the judicial process will begin, and the juridical process will also unfold to create the machinery, the legislation, etc., to be able to handle the problem. So he has said, the second question was?
Whether you know the exact number of economic soldiers and where they are occupied.
Yes. Well, I think yesterday I explained to you that something came in and the mandate was not very clear. We've clarified the mandate. Now, all those things, we are expecting the aid of President Barrow, who is going to come will now work hand in hand with ECOWAS forces and their command and control structures, so that these questions, he will be holding a press conference, just as it is being held now, to deal purely with the military situation. Just as one of the journalists was asking, the CDS may not be privy to some things, but that is the person who will be able to meet the CDS and clarify whatever is unclear about the mission. And also, whatever conflict exists in the mission, will be able to address it without having to consult anybody else.
Okay, Mr. Salah.
That's the last question.
Well, the last question will come when the cabinet is appointed. You will know who is there.
Okay, Mr. Salah, I have a question for you. With regards to this allegation of Jammeh looting and violating all the luxury goods and all stuff like that, did you personally, as the coalition member or leader, did you went to the airport to confirm or any other thing like that? No? Because my name is Alajus, is a concerned citizen. So I wanted to know, with all these allegations, did you went to the airport personally to verify this information for yourself? Thank you.
I have told you very clearly that those who control executive power are not judges, prosecutors. So allegation of any wrong must be passed on to the Inspector General of Police, and they will do their investigation and judiciously do what is necessary to deal with any wrongdoing. It is very easy to make many allegations and try people by press, but as we say, even your opponents deserve justice. And even people who you believe, deep inside you, morally believe, they have some feelings, deserve justice. So allegation must be based on the facts and the ground. What I have done is what President Barrow expects me to do, that is to make the institutions to work. And I've told you here they are working. So if you have any information that you want to give the Inspector General of Police, I recommend that you go and give it so that he will work on that.
Okay, my name is Abdullah from Diafus Radio. My question is, must the president wait until the state house is sanitized to return? Or perhaps was suggesting he can stay any longer holding about the government, just like he was studying the coalition when he was president-elect. Another question is, what is the duration of the ECOMIT, that is the ECOWAS military intervention forces, what is the duration of their stay? And the last question is Barrow security aid, who is supposed to be in town today? Is he around? And if he's around, then what is his mandate? And how does his mandate and post affect the CDS? Thank you.
Yes, the first issue is already what I believe dealt with. That the ECOWAS forces are not conceived as an occupation force. They are seen as a force that came initially to back President Barrow in asserting his legitimacy if the other side decided to use unconventional means to make themselves legitimate. But fortunately, there was peace. And as a result, those forces had to have a new role to play. And the new role that is said and reported is that they are to complement the security forces of the country. And what is done to ensure that they are actually working in harmony as a force of solidarity is to get an aide who will work closely with ECOWAS so that the Gambian security forces will have somebody they can turn to ask these very questions you are asking, and Gambian journalists, everybody the executive will know who should really handle those matters so that the president will have a firm grip as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Gambia. So in short, this is all a transitional phase to give the president full control of a country which has been handed over to him while he was out of the country. So this is the reality. So in terms of numbers, in terms of mandate, the mandate is clear. And we would leave the aid to give us all the concrete details. But what we have emphasized is that if you see those forces doing things that contradicts the interests of the Gambian people or the sovereignty of the land, well then it is your duty to give us that knowledge so that we also will do what we are supposed to do, that's inform President Barrow so that immediate action could be taken in the meantime before the aid comes. Well, what I told you yesterday about the aid is what was being planned. The aid was already receiving briefings, so he could already be here. But when the person comes, you will see that person on national TV, you the media will meet the person to ask about his mandate, and I'm sure everything will be clear.
Okay, I'm Sarah Kamara from Star FM Radio. I would like to know whether the new government will work with the ambassadors who pledge their allegiance to the new government and then condemn the act of the ex-president. That's number one question. And the other one will be, is it not wise to have only one message coming from one person, that is the you as the spokesperson, rather than having different messages coming from two people?
Well, your first issue is that the executive has told everybody that President Barrow is not the president of a coalition. He's the president of all Gambians, irrespective of which side they were on during the political campaign. So undoubtedly, I'm sure he will be meeting every Gambian in order to know to what object their intelligence, their experience would be put. That is what it means to be the executive of our country. So you must demonstrate the capacity to use all talents for the development of the country. Because all of us own the country, irrespective of which side of the political divide we belong to. Now, in terms of message delivery, I think that is already clear, that the spokesperson is the official spokesperson, but you do not necessarily tell people, don't speak. I think it is people who go to speak, who should guard what they say or do consultation before saying it so that there will be harmony in the issuing of statement. But we have already told you the sources of information that you can rely on is this source as the spokesperson and the President of the Republic. So far, until the cabinet is constituted, and I'm sure by tomorrow, when Madam Tambajan would have started the process of taking before the swearing in, whenever I appear. In fact, we've been working very closely together. But in these press conferences, I'm sure that if it is convened before my mandate ends, she will be sitting down and she may be able to answer some of the questions. So we'll start the teamwork.
Ibuwage, TV journalist and documentary filmmaker. You have put up a cabinet and hastily you are taking over the organs of government. Do you understand sometimes these things can happen? But realistically, how long do you want Gambians to give you on your honeymoon?
Well, that's a very important question. I'll pose that to President Laro immediately when I leave here. And if I have any press conference tomorrow, which is very likely, I will answer your question. And that will be definitive. Because it's a concern. I want you to know that he is more concerned than anybody else. Somebody raised the issue, does he have to be at the State House? This is precisely what he said to some people, that he does not necessarily have to be at the State House to carry on the work of executive governance. So I believe that he is contemplating many, many things at this material moment to make a swift decision in order to return.
We now come to the end of this question and answer section. And we now move to the local languages to clarify some of the issues highlighted here. Thank you.
Yes, I will start in Wolof because we have friends from Senegal who are here, and that's the language that is usually utilized in their TV station, and then come for Mandinka. Waxtaani tey bi man Khalifa Sall te yore kàddu président Barrow ci réew mi maa ngi ñëw pour leeralal leen fi ñu toll gannaaw boo xamee ne ci ñaar fukki fan ak benn ci samedi kii di ex président Jammeh génn na réew ba pare am nangutoo boo xam ne bii def na ko ak ECOWAS, African Union ak United Nations boo xam ne bii nit ñaa ngi ciy wax te ñun ñu war cee leer lu mel ni jotaayi démb bi ak jotaayi tey bi yépp jubluwaay bi mooy leeral li nga xam ne mooy dox te loolu mooy waari nguur ndax nguur du nekk ci lëndëm du bàyyi ay nitam ci lëndëm ne nguur waxtu wu nekk dafa war di leeral ndax nit ñi xam ci la ñu nekk ñu ne li nga xam ne moo war a wér mooy Gambia balaa Jammeh di dem mu ngi taxawoon ci foo xam ne diggante jàmmala ak xare mel ni cëll bi mu taxawoon lu nekk mënoon naa wande ndik mati doomi Gambia ak kànd gi ñu ànd ak suñu dëkkandoor ci tudd wi ñu nekk loolu tax na dañ am jàmm ji ñu am tey ndax mat gi nga xam ne moom la doomi Gambia wone mooy ne koo xam ne kii soldaar nga walla police nga ñépp dañu wone ne doore ko fukki fan ak juróom-ñeent pareetuñu pour déglu ki nga xam ne mooy ki daan woon ci wote bi nekk jàll doomi Gambie itam ne jaralu leen ñuy génn ci mbedd mi ndax ki gañe moo war a toog bon nag nañu fexe ki gañewul bu mu amati benn doole ci réew mi moo tax school yi doxatuñu marché yi doxatuñu bunti bitik yi doxatuñu business bi dara doxatul touristes yi yëpp dem nit ñi toog ci seen kër yi loolu dafa wan ne nguur googa amatul doole pour élif réew mu mel ni foofu suñ nekk ci sunu tund bi ànd nañu ak doomi Gambie fexe ba waxtaan ak ki nga xam ne moo fa toog wan ko ne sa waxtu jeex na réew mi mënatuloo ko élif mu dal di d'accord pour dem ku nekk ci yéen gis ngeen ne bés ba moo dem am na ay ñoo xam ne ñi sax ànduñu woon ak moom ñu dem ci aéroport ba waaye gis ngeen ne benn police laalu leen loolu wane na ne bés bu bees juddu na ka yore woon doole amatul doole ba kooku ñu ko doon sàmm sax ndax mu mun a génn ci jàmm loolu yëpp dafa wane ne doole nit ñi moo tax Gambie soppeeku ndax doole nit ñi moo tax ñu wati doole nit ñi mooy tax ñu xaarul xeex jarul xuloo jarul dem ci mbedd mi nañ xaar bés boobu ki war a toog dina toog ki warut a toog dina def àddina bi ànd ci ak ñun loolu am waaye léegi waatloo bi nga xam ne dañu ko waatloo président Barrow ci embassy bi ci Dakar Sénégal Gambie embassy ci Dakar loolu doxalin la boo xam ne bii dafa yéexloo jël bi mu war a jël nguur dal di ko doxal moo tax su ma bési tey bi li ñëw pour leeral mooy nguur gi gannaaw jàmme def na Barrow moo toog waaw nguur gi yan jéego la jël pour fexe doomi Gambie li ñu namm ci seen xol et mooy am li nga xam ne mooy li ñu bëgg ci wàllu yokkute ne loolu door na ñu war cee teg seen bopp li njëkk a def mooy président Barrow dafa santaane ñi daw war nañoo fexe ñu dellusiwaat mu sas ñu nekk ci fii ne nañ sas security council bi mooy immigration beeg police beeg army beeg NIA ñi nga xam ne ci security council lañ nekk ki nga xam ne mooy inspector general police ci nga xam ne moo nekk ci army bi baaj ak NIA ñii yëpp dañ am kuréel boo xam ne mu ngi jógee ci gouvernement ci nguur gi ak kuréel bu jógee ci Red Cross ñu boole leen ne léegi nañ dem Siliti ca boor boobu Jibooro ca boor boobu seet ñi dawoon yóbbu ay boos yóbbu ay ndox ak li leen mën a isi dal di dem Hamdallaay jaar bi Kaara jéem a seet ña fa nekk jëm leen a isi dem bi Kër Ayib jëm leen a isi dem bi Senova jëm leen a isi muy bunt yi nga xam yépp ne demuwaay la ñoom dem nañu fa jéem a yóbbu ay boos pour isi leen ña nekk wéwéli gara santaane nañ ne ñoom itam ñu seet seen mbir mu mel ni bon nguur gi loolu dooroon na pour ne doomi Gambie dañ leen war a sàmm ci réew li nga xam ne rek mooy kontaante bi suñ nit di demoon foofu pour isi leen jàngee nañ ci nit ñi nga xam ne ñoo demoon dugg biir Sénégal ne ba ñu fa eggee seen mbokk yi nga xam ne mbokki dëkkandoor lañu dañ leen def bañ mel ni mbokki dara yaatal leen toppatoo leen loolu nag tax na ba ñaari nit ñi seen ànd mun naa gën a yëwén ngir yërmande foo ko wanee sa morom rek mu ngi mel ni foofu moom jeex na mbokk dugg na fa bon nag li yëf yi ñaaw jur na lu rafet yokk na mbokk gi ci diggante Sénégal ak Gambie doomi Sénégal ak doomi Gambie ñu ne itam li nga xam ne def nañu ko mooy ñi ñu jàppoon te yóbbuñu leen ci fa ma xam ne nekkee benn te jàpp bi yàgg wax nañ ki di NIA ka ko yore police bi armée bi mboolem ku yore ne na nga fexe nga bàyyi leen ñoom nag wax nañu ne bés ni ki tey bi ma toogee nii ñëpp a bàyyi nañu leen koo xam ne ba tey ñu ngi téye sa mbokk nag fexeel ñu yëpp li desoon nag mooy ñi nekk ci kaso bi loolu ñu ngee jëflante ci permanent secretary bi nekk intérieur ak ki nga xam ne moo yore mbiri attorney general Chambers dinañ leen boole ñu dem ci kaso yi ñi nga xam ne dañ leen fa jàpp te kenn yóbbuwu leen atte leen ñu fexe ñooñu yëpp ñu daldi leen may mu mel ni ñu ngay ñëw ci loolu koo xam ne kii nag sa nit bàyyiwuñu ko fexeel nga yëgal ñu ko wala nga yëgal ko inspecteur general police su ko defee ñu mun a toppatoo la ñaareel bi su wecceeku amee te lu bari daf day xew ci alali nguur déggoon ngeen moto yi nga xam ne am na ñu ko jël di ko jéem a pentuur di yóbbu loolu waxtaan ñu nekk ci ak police bi ne nañu fexe boode bi yëpp ñu téye ko bu kenn jàllale moto nguur gi fu nekk fu ñu gis moto nguur rek fexeel ñu yëg ko wala inspecteur général police yëg ko su ko defee ñu mun a tere lool. ñaareel bi dañu sant ki nga xam ne mooy secrétaire général bi nga xam ne moo yore placé liggéeykat yi njiiti liggéeykat yi mu oote mbooleem koo xam ne kii mu ngay jiite bureau pour ñu bokk toog mu sant leen ñooñu dem seet doxalin bi nga xam ne moom la seen bureau daan doxalee projet yi nga xam ne seen bureau am na ko xaalis ba nga xam ne moom la seen bureau war a doxalee su ko defee yooyu yëpp mun a leer ñu pare yaasal seen këyit pour ministre yu bees yi nga xam ne ñooy war a dugg ci nguur gi suñu xasee egg dinañ fekk këyit yu leer ñoom itam ñu mun a waxtaan ak ñoom ci wàllu naka la ñoo isee yokkute ñu ne itam fexe nañ inspecteur général police mu dem ak ki nga xam ne moo nekk njiiti bureau yi mooy PMO et mu ànd ak moom mbooleem bureau yi ñu seet leen ci wàllu sécurité ak alal bi ak lu mun a yàqu ci place ya dal di wër itam li nga xam ne mooy compagnie nguur yi nga xam ne moo nekk ci réew mi dem ba ca central bank ba seet naka la ñu toogee ndax am na benn yàqu-yàqu bu fa nekk loolu inspecteur général police def na ko tey bi mu demee nag ba mu jeex ñu ngi leen a wan ne wan na ma ne place yi ñu dem yëpp ñu ngaa dox si liggéeykat yaa nga fa na mu waroon doxee ñu koo doxee central bank bi ñëpp tiitul amoon tiitaangi mu ne dara yàqu fa et ña faa liggéey ñu nga fa wax nañ ko sax ne yeneen banques yi ci réew mi yëpp a ngay dox te ñoom ñu ngi réglé te loolu mooy seen liggéey réglé xaalisi réew mi mu mun a continuer di dox yore xaalisi réew mi itam bunte yooyu di dox ñetti bunte ñoo xala am jafe-jafe tuuti benn bi mooy nawet mooy seen wàllu pétrole mooy dem suuf loolu mun na leen a isil jafe-jafe wax nañ ko kañ la gaal di ñëw pour isi pétrole mu mel ne loolu dañ ko yëbbaane ki nga xam ne mooy président Barrow su ko defee ñu mun a xam ne loolu mun nañu ci am taxawaay suñuy mun a am nangutoo ak ñeneen su ko defee loolu yëpp mun naa nekk ndimbal ci réew ñu ne yeneen bunte yi mooy aéroport bi ak suñu port bi fii ne am na jafe-jafe ci wàllu wàcc ci aéroport bi ak jóg ak fële itam gaal di war a ñëw di ñëw ba ci fi ñu war a wàcce ay bagages loolu nag gàllankoor la yoo xam ne ci saa si fexe nañu téléphone li ñu war a téléphone président bi mu taxaw ci ECOWAS itam waxtaan nañu ñoom ba ñoom itam yónnee nañu seen bataaxel pour gis ne léegi daal nañu fexe ñu am bunte boo xam ne yii su xewee ci saa si rek dinañ ko mun a saafaraal bunte lëkkalante bi daal mu ngi gën a yokku ci fànn ko gis nañu itam ne soldats yi nga xam ne ñoo soldats yi ECOWAS dañ nekkoon ci biti ba pare bi ñu duggee ci réew mi fekk jàmme dem na ñu bari jaaxle ndaxte gis nañ ne jàmm ak dal mu ngi ci réew mi bon nag xamatuñ ñu waaw lu tax soldats yi ñoo dugg di dem ci camp yi loolu isi woon na ay ñaari xel wante ñu ngi gis ne loolu ci saasi waxtaan nañu ak ki nga xam ne mooy ambassadeur Sénégal bi fi nekk waxtaan nañu ak ki nga xam ne mooy inspecteur général police ak sécurité yi waxtaan nañu ak président Barrow mu leeral ci saasi ak United Nations yëpp ñu dal di ko leeral ci saasi gis ne ñoom day seen ñëw fii ñëw ñu pour not réew wala toog jaay doole dañu ñëw pour bokk ak ñi nga xam ne ñooy sécurité bi fi nekk gën a def rek sécurité bi mu gën a tar loolu mooy santaane bi koo xam ne kii gis nga lu safaanoog loolu nag yëgal ñu ko ñu mun a arrêté loolu liñ gis daal mooy ci seen wax moo tax ñun itam ñu wax leen ne li nga xam ne moo war fi mu nekk nii pour lépp mun a leer mooy ne ki di président Barrow na fexe mu am kenn nit koo xam ne kii xam na armée bu baax koo xam ne kii dina nekk ki nga xam ne digal katam la ndax di nga nekk am ay njiiti armée ak yooyu waaye waxtu nekk di nga am digalkat ci nguur di nga am ay ministre waaye ba tey di nga am ay digalkat lu baax la ci nguur su ko defee dina am digalkat ci wàllu armée kooku su ñëwee dina bokk ak ñi fi toog wax leen ECOWAS njiiti ECOWAS bi moom mu jokkoo ak moom ki yore mbiri armée ECOWAS bi su ko defee ñoom ñaar ñu jokkoo nekk benn nekk xarit di waxtaan balaa ko di def dara tàggu ko moom itam mu tàggu président Barrow ndax mooy commandant in chief bi su ko defee ñàkk a déggoo du ko mën a nekk te ñàkk a déggoo foo ko gis rek dina isi ñàkk óoluwante te ñàkk óoluwante foo ko gis rek mun naa isi jaxasoo fu mu nekk rek fitna mun na faa judd ñeneen ñi bu ko isi fitna itam mun nañu koo jëfoo pour isi fitna gannaaw dàq nañu fitna ba pare bu gàttuñu lu ko isi moo tax ñu ne bon su kii ñëwee dinañ mun a régler loolu su ko defee dina mun a waxtaan ak suñu armée bi ñii soldats yi jógee ECOWAS ak suñu armée bi jaxasoo xam ne ànd bi mooy lan mooy ne réew moo xam ne am na jafe-jafe ñun itam suñu soldats yi dinañ mun a jóg ànd ak yeneen soldats yi ECOWAS pour loolu ñu mun koo dalal ndax loolu moo mun a isi jàmm si suñu tund bi fii ñun ñëpp ñu bokk waxtu wu ñu gisee ne démocratie day isi na nguur keneen bañ nangu nguur googu ñëpp a jóg ne déedéet li nit ñi soxla foog mu am su demee noonu rek ànd gi dafaa dal di seet gis nañu itam ne ci biir wax ji nga xam ne moom la nit ñi di wax ne nangutoo bi nga xam ne ECOWAS AU ak United Nations def nañu ko ñu bari dañ dem wax ne dafa jox ki nga xam ne mooy jàmm mi fi jógee et doole goo xam ne alal bi ko neex mun na koo yore dina mun a génnaat Gambia delsiwaat Gambia kenn du ko laal mu mel ni façon yu wax yu bëri moom la ñu ci def ñenn ñi di wax sax ne lii Barrow d'accord ci signé wu ko ECOWAS signé wu ko su ko defee wax yu bëri moo ci nekk dafa baax nag nit ñi xam nguur ni muy dox nguur doo toog rek nga tuumaal nit même sa noonu sax doo toog tuumaal nguur dafa ne da nga am ay bunti doxalin boobu la président Barrow yor mooy doxal réew mi ci anglais ñu ne exécutif bunti tëralin yi mooy ñiy defar charte yi mooy National Assembly ñoom ñooy tëral charte yi ba nga xam ne moo war a ëmba doxalin bi kii di président Barrow charte bu ñu tëral ba ci baati réew mi daf ko war a sàmm dafa waat pour sàmm ko nga am nag ñuy àtte soo yàqee tëralin ba ñoom ñooy war a àtte waaw mu mel ni loolu bunt boobu ku nekk ak sa bunt la ku nekk ak sa ñàkk la ku nekk ak sa garde la ba nga xam ne doo xëcc sa bunt moo tax koo xam ne kii am nga loo tuumaal nit ci sàcc ak lu mun a doon loolu da nga koo yóbbu ci inspecteur général of police moom mu jël nitam ñu gëstu ko suñ gisee ne yaakaar nañ ne def nga ñu dal di jàpp nit ki dal di ko caaj ne ko waaw yow de dinañ la yóbbu fa waxee la nekkee benn waaye li nga ko yóbbu foofu yëpp doo mën a wax ne lan ko tuumaal def na ko da nga koo yóbbu ne ko tuumaal nga ko waaye boo ko wax ne def nga nangam moo tax am na solo torop doomi Gambie yi nekk fii ak mitim réew ñu door di def Gambie réew moo xam ne réew yi démocratie la mooy ne doo toog di tuumaal di yàq deri nit feeg yóbbuwoon loolu ba ñu àtte ko bañ ne def na nangam bi waaw mu mel ni bon loolu am na ci solo bon li nga xam ne moom la ECOWAS AU ak United Nations def mooy ne ba nga xamee ne yëf yi càng jàmme ne moom day du nangu ñoom fexe nañ ba mu nangu bi mu nangoo nag am na lu ñu tëral ak moom pour mu nangu tëral bi ñu tëral moom nag loolu mënoon naa nekk nangutoo wante eggul ci nangutoo dafa ànd nekk ci li ñoo ooyee déggoo waaw déggoo bi mooy déggoo nañu wante nangutoo bi dañu koy signé signé bi mooy lan mooy li nga xam ne moom la président Jammeh soxla ak li nga xam ne moom la président Barrow soxla jamono boobu dangaa yóbbu Jammeh li mu soxla nga jox ko président Barrow mu segg ko wax ne lii d'accord naa ci la d'accord ma ci nga isiwaat ci Jammeh nga nekk di wax seen diggante bañ nangu moom mu signé kële signé ñu ne waaw lii mooy nangu doon waaye jamono bi nga xamee ne ñu ngi waxtaan dem na ba nga xam ne président Barrow li mu wax ñii mooy ne def nañ deadline na dem bi yoon daal su ñaanee ñetti fan ñen soxlaatuñ ñaan ay fan di war a nangutoo na dem bés boobu daal na dem waaw ñëpp dañ ne na dem bés boobu ñi nga xam ne nag ñoo doon waxtaan ak moom ci lañ bind benn déggoo boo xam ne ñoom ñoo jàng déggoo boobu président Barrow bokku ci déggoo boobu ci diggante ñi nga xam ne ñoo demoon di waxtaan ak Jammeh la ñoom ñoo wax ci turi ECOWAS ci turi United Nations ci turi African Union am na ñuy wax ne président Mauritanie bi nekkul ECOWAS waaye nag mu ngi ci African Union bi lii ñetti kuréel ñoo ko ëmb mu ngi ci United Nations benn nga nekk ci United Nations wala nga nekk ci AU wala nga nekk ci ECOWAS nekkul kayiti ECOWAS rek mooy nangu tool ci ñi nga xam ne ñoo demoon pour déggoo bi ñu demee pour déggoo ñu gis ne déggoo bi moo gën nangutoo bi ndax nangutoo bi suñ ko dee dafaa yéex waaw mu mel ni bon noonu la ko nit ñi war a déggee li ñu war a seet nag mooy la ñu bind lan la ku ko kontar nga kontar la ñu bind nga am ci xam-xam man segg naa li nga xam ne moom la ñu bind maa ngi ko doon waxtaan ak journaliste yi laajte nañ ci laajte yu bari waaye li nga xam ne moo gën a wér ñetti yëf la mooy benn bi mooy ne kii nga xam ne mooy président Jammeh dina nekk bi moo nekk président Jammeh kale nekk président elect dafa am lu ñu nangu toowoon leeta boo xam ne président elect Barrow moo ko bindoon président Jammeh président Jammeh am na ñeneen ñu demoon ci moom pour mu isi nangu too boo xam ne bii dina bàyyi ñenn ñi sax ay pastor lañu woon bi nga xamee ne dem nañ mu ne leen nañ dem ci président elect Barrow pour laaj ko waaw lan la koo jox loo xam ne lii moom dina tax mu mun a nangu président elect Barrow dal di ko bindal leetar ne soo nangoo àq gi ñu jox ex président Jawara yow tam ex président Jammeh moom lañ laa jox nga am cër bi mu am ak àq bi nga am ci ron li nga xam ne mooy baati réewi Gambie ak loi Gambie loolu la ko bind soo seetee itam ci li nga xam ne moom la AU ECOWAS seen liñ déclaré wax di nga ci gis lu demee noonu ne àq boobu nga xam dinañ ko def mu nekk ex président réew am cër boobu loolu bokk na ca nangu toog ñaareel ba itam gannaaw ñii dañ ne foog mu def foog mu génnaal te moom bugga mooy woon toog kanit la waaye ñu ne foog mu def génn ñu def nangu toog bi ne dina génn wane ci kanam dina dellusiwaat am na ñu ma laaj loolu démb loolu nag baati réewi Gambie moo ko wax ci bunte ñaar fukki ak juróom mu ne benn doomi Gambie kenn warut a am sañ-sañ di ko tere mu wóor ci Gambie toog fu ko neex ci Gambie génn ci Gambie dellusiwaat ci Gambie loolu cëri doomi Gambie bu nekk la te nguur goo xam ne kii bañ nga loolu mu ngi mel ni utewuloo ak nguuri ki fi nekk ki fi jógee léegi nguur goo xam ne nguuri ëllëg la li baati réew mi wax moom nga war a sàmm ñetteel bi mooy alal ji nga xam ne moom la ñoo wax ak alal yi ñi mu àndal yëpp loolu lañ ci wax mooy ne alal ji nga xam ne alal ju lew la lawfully acquired ci anglais alal ju lew kenn du ko foqal ni ci loxo loolu nag dafa isi loo xam ne yow su fekkee ne yaa ngi amoon suuf ñu nangu ko ci sa loxo yow yaay dem kalaame ne lii maa moomoon suuf si loolu kay moom leneen la su ko defee li lew yow soo ko xamee rek xam ne loolu bokkul ca wax ya su fekkee ne itam da nga ne kii dafa toj central bank ba yóbbu xaalis ak kooku kay Interpol la foo toppi ndax fekk xam nga ne loolu am na rek kooku moom daanaka génn na ci président ya dugg ci tappale kooku kay moom dafa yàq boppam kooku defarul bopp mun mel ni loolu liñ d'accord noonu sàmm ko bon nag nit ñi noonu lañ war a gis ñu xamee ko loolu ñetteel ba itam mooy ne ñi nga xam ne ay ndawam lañ bu ñu leen bundu xatal bu ñu leen tooñ loolu yëpp dafa mel ni jeex na ne li ñu bind noonu dëgg-dëgg nekkul lu am fayda loo xam ne nii dafa wàññi li nga xam ne mooy dagari Barrow ba li gën ci réew mi ci jamono boobu mooy jàmm am moom mu dem bon nag doomi Gambie li war ci ñun mooy ne bi suñu bët ci tooyee suñu dëkkandoor a jóg seen président yi jóg bàyyi seen lépp di fi toog ay waxtu pour mun a toppatoo suñu soxla ba jàmm ji ñu doon ut am ñu am ki bëggoon mu dem bon nag ñun doomi Gambie waratuñoo toog di toppandoo yu sew yi di mel ni di wàññi daraja ñooñu di leen jéem a tuutiloo ak sewloo ne mel ni dañu def loo xam ne lii dëgg-dëgg ku nekk xam ne ne su yàggee ba yàgg réew moo xam ne bi amatuna jafe-jafe bi Gambie am nga siidee dem ne yaa ngi leen a topp mu mel ni ñun nit ñu mat lañu war a doon gannaaw suñ dëkkandoor yi jóg nañu bon nag nañu fonk suñuy dëkkandoor yi léegi su ma mujjantali wax mooy ne soo xalaat waat pour jël nguur da nga am bunti nguur yi bunti njàng bi bunti lopitaan bi bunti mbéy mi bunti yu bëri moo nekk ci nguur yooyu yore doxalin réew foog nga rek ngay tànn ay ministres yoo xam ne ñoo yore bunti yooyu mu mel ni président Barrow fi mu nekk ni liggéeyam la pour tànn ay nit ñoo xam ne ñoo yore bunti yooyu ñu bëri ñu ngeen laajte lu tax gaawul ñu ne ñaari yëf moo tax mooy ne parti ñoo bokkoon ak benn independent candidate pour taxawal coalition gannaaw loolu moo am moo tax itam fi mu nekk ni fi ñu toll am na solo bu baax a baax pour ñu mun a gis ne mu ma naa alhamdulilah mu ngi mel ni xibaar yaa ngay ñëw xibaar yoo xam ne dinaa leer soo mu mel ni bon baax na ngeen xam yéen seen bopp ngeen gis ne fi ñu toll mooy loolu ne am na cabinet boo xam ne bii ci coalition bi la war a jóge ak cabinet boo xam ne ay borom xam-xam ñoo ko ëmb mun ngaa bokk ci coalition bi pare nekk borom xam-xam wante ñaar yi nga war a boole pour cabinet bi ñëpp xam ne lii doy na yaakaar soo mu mel ni loolu bokk na ñi nga xam ne nag ñu ngi jógee ci parti yi ñooñu ku nekk xam nga place bi nga xam ne moom nga war a yore si wante nag mu ngi doon xaar ñi nga xam ne yeneen bunt yi la pour ñu jaxase leen su génnee ñu xam ne kii moom li mu fasoo def mooy li mu waxoon li diggoon nit ñi bon nag foofu la mbir mi toll waaye bés ni ki tey wane na ne kii di Fatoumata Tambadjan dinañ ko tànn pour mu nekk vice président ci suufi Gambie su ko defee kooku dina door di dox di seet di mun a waxtaan su ko defee lu bëri dinañ ko mun a doxal ci réew mi ci jamono ji moom itam mu ngi parrainage pour ñëw waaye mu ngi seet fan lañ war a toog ndax State House bi xam nga foog nit a fa toogoon foog nga seetaat ko seet la fa nekk ba mu jeex ci wàllu ay gànnaay ak yu demee noonu loolu taxoon na ECOWAS ak moom ñuy seet naka lañ war a def waaye moom mu ngi seet yeneen jéego yoo xam ne yi mun na koo jël ndax mu wàcc si ndax ñu mun a am jàmm ci ñiy laajte lu tax ñëwul ba tey su loolu amee itam dina am jamono ñu am feet boo xam ne di nekk ci stadium bi mun koo tatagal ci wàllu tànn gi ñu ko tànn bon nag wax ji mooy loolu na ngeen bàyyi xel ne réew mi fi mu nekk nii mu ngi door di dox ñun ñëpp nag ñoo moom Gambia waaye li ci am solo ñu xam ne benn Gambia la benn réew la benn nit la ñun ñëpp ñoo war a ànd xam ne réew mi ñoo ko moom ay joola ñii làkk joola ñii làkk mandinka ñii làkk di xëccoo di saagante loolu taxutoo ñu ne réew ku nekk suñ ne xeet dañoo wax ne xeet ku nekk demal nga am sa suufi bopp ku nekk xam na ne loolu mënut a am si suufi Gambie ndax benn xeet mënut a am suufi boppam dal di am économie boppam di samp ay school ay lopitaan mu mel ni loolu mënut a sotti liñ bokk nekk benn réew moo tax ñu am keesi réew boo xam ne benn xeet moom kees googa kuñ ko dénku lañ ko ndig sa xeet ndaxte soo ci sampee lopitaan du jëriñ rek sa xeet soo ci sampee jàngookaay du jëriñ rek sa xeet soo ci defaree yoon du jëriñ rek sa xeet soo ca joxee liggéey nit jëriñ rek sa xeet bon nag nañu gis ne jamono bi ñoo wax nguur ak xeet kooku moom dàqu na jamono doomi Gambie yore nguur même ki la wotewul sax yaa ngi koy def te force muy fay lem bon nag nañu joboote doomi Gambie yëpp yéen doomi Gambie gis ngeen àddina bi ñëpp a ñëw farleen suñ toogee di dégg ne bañ ñu farlelee ba ñu jël nguur ñu ngay jamante paaka di dóorante di mbéjante dañoo rëccu sax ne dimbale nañu dañoo gis ne ñii ñu ñàkk fayda lañu ndaxte li tax ñu dimbal nañu mooy ne dañu génne dañu ànd bu ko fee génnee liy doon lor réew mi sampaat fi loo xam ne dina jëriñ réew mi loolu tax ñu ànd ak ñun pour ñu mun a tabax démocratie bu pire ndax buñ déggaati ne coow a ngi ci suufi Gambie reyante ngi ci suufi Gambie tooñante ngi suufi Gambie bon soldaar yi nga xam ne ñëw itam bugg nañu ñu ànd ak soldaar yi Gambie yi pour ñu ànd mun a déggoo ndax loolu itam dina mun a isi jàmm ci réew mi bon jàmm ji ñoo ko fi isi ak suñu dëkkandoor yi nañ fexe mu sax ci suñu jikko yu baax suñu ànd suñu buggante suñu pare pour yokkute ndax Gambia wéeru ci xam-xami doomi réew ci njubi doomi réew ànd ci njub ànd ci xam-xam mooy li defar réew kon nag nañ taxaw ci yoon wu jërë leen